Let's continue getting ready for Halloween by making some little tombstones to set outside our dollhouse. We've got quite a variety here. Some will work, all of these will work in 1/12 scale, and a few of them will work in 1/6 scale also. So stay tuned and see how I made these. Alright, well here's what we're going for today. We're going to make some decorative tombstones to fix up the yard of your dollhouse or to make a cemetery by a church or whatever. I decided to make two sizes. Now the big ones could either be Barbie size or 1/12 scale. When I looked at the decorative ones online for sale, they tend to be about 1.5 feet tall. But I know I drove by a house last year that had tombstones in their yard and they were like 3 or 4 feet tall. So I think it's up to you. How big do you want it? How spooky do you want it? So I made these two. This one here is just one of these wooden pieces. I got this at Michael's for 29 cents and I'll be showing you how to do this. This one is made from these rectangular 1.5 inch signs that you buy on they hang on the wall at the craft store. And then these two are just a jumbo craft stick. We also need regular size craft sticks. And we need a little piece of wood. I used 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch here. I'm out of that right now, so I've got an 1/8 inch piece I'm going to use for the one we make. But the cross will need something to help it stand up. These guys will work without that. You'll need glue. I'm using my usual mix of Fast Grab Tacky and Zap-A-Gap. You need 3 colors of paint. You need a light gray, you need a dark gray, and you need a black. And you need some sand. Now this doesn't have to be, it can be any color sand. The sand and the paint are going to make not only our color but our texture. And you can see, you don't see really that I use brown sand. Well, there's a few spots I didn't cover, but mainly that's a texture item. It's not a color item. So any color sand you have. So let's get started and I'll show you how we get these put together. Alright, first we are going to cut a couple of headstones out of this jumbo craft stick and use whatever method you use to cut wood. I like my easy cutter, but however you want to cut it. I'm going to make this one, I'm going to make a rectangular one about that long. And I'm going to make one that's kind of rounded, about that long. And for this, I don't worry about size. I make it whatever size I feel like at the time. I have one of these signs. We'll make one with this. And we have our little cross. I'll peel off as much of the sticker as I can. And it's okay to leave some of this because that will just add more texture. Now for this, we need to make it a little more stable. So we're going to glue this stick on the back and it has to be level with the bottom. Basically all we're doing here is we're making a bigger base to glue so it'll balance better. So let's get this glued on first so it can start to set up. And this one I don't need the Zap-A-Gap for. I'm just going to put that there. There. Now we need to cut some craft stick bases. We want a straight end. I want a straight end on mine. You can do it however you want. And you just need it slightly wider than whatever your headstone is going to be made of. So that one's for that one. Let's do this one for the cross. And let's cut a couple. Put that down in my trash. And I'm just kind of guesstimating because this doesn't need to be super accurate. This is supposed to look rustic and kind of, you know, creepy and crooked and all that stuff. So you don't have to have this perfect. We've got that there. I think I'm going to put that at the top. So we're going to bead a glue, bead of our fast grab tacky, and remember I like fast grab tacky because it's thicker and it holds better. Now a couple of dots of Zap-A-Gap. That'll make it hold until the tacky glue dries. Just don't stick your finger in that glue with that Zap-A-Gap in it. Now we're going to glue this one on here. And on these, I'm not even sanding off the rough edges. I decided rough edges are fine on Tombstones. They'll just look more old and beat up. And if they don't stand up straight, that's okay too, because how many times have you gone to a cemetery and the tombstones are kind of falling over? It's okay. We're having fun here. And it's not supposed to be perfect. This project isn't supposed to be perfect, because in real life it wouldn't be perfect. Now, you can see if our little area here, this one may need a little bit of support to stay on. But once the glue is dry and once we get the sand and the paint on, it will stay on just fine. Yeah, I'm going to lay this one down. So these need to dry. And when they're all dry, then we'll come back and we'll put the first coat of paint and the sand coat on. Alright, so our next step, we're going to paint and apply the sand. And our first coat of paint really isn't even used for the color, it's used to hold our sand on. So you could probably use any color of paint, I suppose, for this coat. It like I said, it's not important. Try not to get it on the bottom. If you can avoid getting it on this surface, try to avoid that. And if you miss spots, it's okay. Like I said earlier, this isn't supposed to be perfect. This is supposed to be kind of rustic and creepy. Now we just dump it down in this sand and kind of toss it around in here. Just kind of you might have to use your fingers like I am there to get sand on everywhere. And it doesn't have to be even. We're just giving the impression that this isn't wood, that this is something other than wood, that this is like concrete, or, you know, that this is a rough old tombstone. I'm not getting any sand to stick there, so I'm going to stick a little more paint there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but we do want it to cover better than that. So let's get that. And then this just needs to dry, and I'll do the rest of these, and when this coat is all dry, we'll come back and do the top coat of paint. Alright, these are now all dry, so now it's time to put the final coat of paint on. This is the coat that's going to show. So you want to cover these thoroughly and make sure that the wood and the sand are both all covered. But again, try to avoid getting paint on this side, on the bottom, because they won't stand as straight up and down. And we are going to have paint on our fingers. That's okay. And you can come back now after this is dried, then come back and check for spots that you missed with the paint, because you will probably miss some spots. But as you can see, this really does look, it makes for a really cool, let's see if I can get this up here, effect with the paint over the sand rather. Well, I'll finish painting the last two, and when this coat is dry, we can go ahead and do the next step. Our next step is a really quick one. We simply want to dry brush a darker gray over. By dry brush, I mean you dip it in the paint, and I'm wiping off most of it here on my container. And then just kind of, it gives a little depth to the color. That way it isn't so flat. And we still see a little of the brownish tones. We see a little of the, we see both colors of gray. Like you can see, we're just, I just want to make it look old and like it sat out in the outside in a creepy place. That's really, that just makes them look not quite so flat. And you can take more time with this. You know, you can, if you want to get really detailed, you can. That's all there is to that step. When this dries, we can start writing some fun things on the fronts. Alright, so the next step is the fun part. We are going to add some names. Because every graveyard, you have to know who's buried there, right? So let's go through the ones I did. Some of these are kind of messy, but you can kind of see it. It says, I am next. You are next. Must be a family. Just simple rest in peace. I'm here. I mean, there's tons of phrases you can use. What I did was I went online to my favorite search engine and I think I typed in Halloween tombstone sayings. And then I just printed off a sheet of them, I copied and pasted them onto a document. I've got it laying here. So let's see if we can make this work. Oh, and also, keep a cotton swab and a container of water handy in case you need to erase. Let's see if we can make our next phrase here. And I like to start in the middle of the word. If you're not happy with the letter, just use your cotton swab and take it off. We have Noah Moore here. So I'll paint some names on the rest of these, and when I'm done, I'll try to get a picture of all of them in place so you can see how they look. Well, here are all the tombstones set up in the yard of my dollhouse, along with Skelly with her bowl of candy. I'm just waiting for the kids to show up on Halloween. So have fun with those minis, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.